thing I just want to say too is it might feel a little overwhelming to pay attention to all those numbers, and that's where you want to just find trusted people to just help you decipher what it all really means.
Yeah.
She's really helped us look at those numbers and make sense of it, and be able to say, okay, if you kept doing this, this is where we'd be. Or if we make these adjustments, maybe if you did spend a little more here, what could that look like? And so if you have an issue with even predicting or deciphering that kind of data, it's just about who, not how.
Welcome to the Sold Out Sales Podcast, the podcast that will equip both the seasoned sales professional and the more reluctant seller with mindset shifts and strategies needed to succeed in a competitive marketplace. Welcome back to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I am so excited about what we're going to be talking about today because it's the one thing that most business owners ask me about. They wonder, what should I really be paying attention to know that I'm doing well in my sales, or what are some of the things that are going to help me to get an increase in my revenue? So we're going to be talking about metrics for sales and across the board, both on social, in the way that you're networking, and just your overall, sales activities. I call them your profit producing activities. I'm going to be bouncing some ideas off of my girl Taylor here in the house. And I'm hoping that by the end of our time together, you're going to start looking at the way that you're doing business a little bit differently, especially as it pertains to sales. So I'm going to ask you, Taylor, what are some of the things that you, just off the top of your head, think that people probably miss that they should be measuring from their networking?
Well, how many conversations did you actually book? Like real, authentic conversations. Make sure you look at one of our last recordings we did about relationship networking. So how many calls did you actually make? And then what happened from those calls? Did you make a sale? Are you doing another follow-up call? What's the actual process from that?
Yeah, I think that people walk into, and I say walk into, that might mean sitting at your desk and log on to, or going to a large conference and never have an intention set for what they want out of their networking, what they want out of their time there. And that's where I think our biggest mistake is not knowing, okay, how many people, how many new contacts do I want to have, especially if you're like a sponsor and you have a display table. I'm like, we want to make sure that you've not only got some ROI, some return on your investment, but you've actually gotten profit from that event. So if we're not looking at what we're trying to accomplish and putting some measures in place, then the likelihood is you don't know if you have a return on your investment. Number two, the likelihood is you don't. The likelihood is high that you don't. So when I think of key metrics for networking, like you said, connections made, how many actual connections overall did I make, right? How many of those connections were really ideal clients for me, people that I actually know I want to get to know better to see if I can help them, but they're definitely ideal clients for me. How many people did I talk to that are good referral sources? People that I probably can't help in my business, but I know people who can serve them well, and I can make those referrals for them. And these are things that, at least depending on the type of CRM that you use, you can actually create a dashboard and monitor all of these things so that at the end of your month, quarter, year, you can actually see what has happened. New opportunities that were actually generated, meaning not only did you make a connection, but someone every now and then, and I don't want you to go into an event and just start pitching yourself and, trying to make sales in the first breath. But every now and then someone says, I need what you have to offer. Can I buy it? And so I had an opportunity to attend an event back in April of last year. And I was just doing my thing, talking to people, and had a conversation with someone else. And the person heard me talking to them about what I do, because this person asked me some very specific questions about how I could help them. And the person that was listening in says, hey, I need to hire you. And I was like, okay, I will send you, I was going to, because I just met this person, let me send you some information. We can set up some time to talk. She goes, absolutely not. Send me an invoice. I know already I need to work with you.
Wow.
Right? That doesn't happen often.
That doesn't happen often, people. So.
So that could happen, but it doesn't happen often. So if I'm talking to someone and they're saying, I know I need to work with you, let's talk later, that's what I would consider a lead, right? That's definitely a lead. They've made it very clear that they want to work with you. So I'm also tracking how many actual leads get generated from an event. We tend to mistake connections with leads, though. A lead is someone who's come in that you don't know for sure that they're qualified, but they've indicated on some level, or you've made the decision that they could be potentially an ideal client. But every connection is not necessarily a lead. And then you want to adjust your networking efforts based on what's happening as a result of these numbers that you're starting to track. So if I'm going to an event, this is the thing I need to look at. How much money did I spend to go to that event? We often think about just how much the event costs, though. How much gas? I live far away from all the places that we network, right? Yeah. It's always an endeavor for me to get there. If I'm in a room, you better know I wanted to be here. Yeah. I needed to be here.
Talk about intentional.
Right? Exactly. Very intentional, which is why I'm not in every room. It's like I'm going to be in a room because I know it's the right room I need to be in. But I have to think about how much gas is it going to cost me to get to and from? How much time am I going to spend away from my office doing all of the other things that actually do create income for my business? How much did I spend on, if it's what do you call it?
Like a lunch or
if I'm
membership fees.
A membership, thank you.
Yep.
If I'm a member of this organization, how much am I paying per month or per year? And then do I still have to buy lunch, right? And then many times, and this is something that I do, and I actually, I recommend you do this as well. I often will create an after hours opportunity or an after event opportunity to meet with people. Mm-hmm. So because I've traveled 30, 40 miles, sometimes much more to get to an event, I'm not trying to come back out here next week to meet you necessarily, but I will say, okay, after Nabo, for instance, I will say, I'm almost always going to the Gladly, which is my favorite restaurant, which is right next door to where right up the street from where we hold our meetings right now. So I'm almost always going to the Gladly after the event. So I'm going to say, hey, why don't you come have lunch with me? Mm-hmm. I mean, because normally we have a very, kind of finger food kind of lunch when we're there. Most people are still hungry. So I'm like, why don't we go grab a bite to eat? That's a great way to further that conversation. But then I have to also put that into my budget. Mm-hmm. Say, okay, if I'm going to take 1 or 2 people out to lunch after this, possibly, maybe I'm not, but it's possible. I need to also consider that cost. And then I'm going to look at, okay, what are all of my real costs? And then if I get a new client, what is that going to, what's the difference there? Mm-hmm. Did I get my return on my investment? So don't just think about, I'm going to this event, it cost me $30. Ma'am, it did not cost you $30. Yeah. Lunch cost you $30, but there are so many other costs involved, not to even consider if I had to get something printed because I'm taking something, I needed new business cards. There's a lot of additional costs, right? Yeah. Parking, right? Yeah. So think about all those things. If you're like me, I'm out a lot. I'm on video a lot. So guess what? I'm often going to say I need something new to wear because I'm wearing my clothes are always visible because I'm on different platforms. And so there's a lot of costs that we don't always consider when it comes to going to a networking event.
And people need to put more value on their time because that's a commodity. Yes, you're not getting that back. You can get the $30 back, but you're not getting your hour back. You're not getting your 2 hours back.
You sure aren't. And in all honesty, there's a way we can even look at, okay, what does an hour of my time really cost? We always say we're priceless, and I believe that, but there's a dollar amount to what you're spending your time on. And if we're not looking at that, we're probably losing more money than we realize in our business. So that's another thing. That's a whole other podcast conversation because I learned that the hard way. I was actually stapling some folders or putting together some packages for an event I was putting on. And I was on the phone with my coach and she kept hearing, and if you're not watching this, like think about, somebody using a staple, that staple sound. And as we're talking, she keeps hearing this sound. She goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm stapling the packages for the workshop. She goes, you're doing what? Why are you spending your time doing that? That is something you give somebody $10 an hour.
That's delegation.
Exactly. Yes. But it was a huge eye opener for me because I really hadn't valued or really understood what it meant to value my time until we had that conversation. And so when I realized what my time is really worth, because in an hour of my time, I can close at least one client, which is at least 5 figures, right? So I'm like, okay, if I'm going to this networking event, it better bring in a huge return because I'm sacrificing, if you will, an hour of my time. It's called not a hidden cost, a opportunity cost.
Opportunity cost,
right?
Yes.
I'm missing other opportunities because I'm out and about doing these things, which are still great for my business, but it's just another way of thinking about it, right? So if you're not necessarily networking, but you're maybe doing social, with the intention of getting new clients, then there are very different things you need to be paying attention to and really monitoring to make sure that it's a great use of your time and that what you're doing is working. If you're someone who hates to network because you don't always know what to say, I get you. I'm an introvert too, and I've created a free gift for you. It's my Networking and Sales Handbook just for introverts, and it is at tishtimes.com. It'll be the first pop-up you'll see. Grab it. Let me know what you think about it. It's free. Go grab it right now. And so I have this spreadsheet. And you know what? I tell you what, if you comment spreadsheet, I will be happy to send that to you because I think it's such a valuable tool. And it's not fancy. It is literally a Google sheet, but I'll make a copy and send it to you if you comment spreadsheet. I'll reach out to you, get your information, and we'll get those out to you regardless of when you see this because it's something that I use all the time. But it's when I put out what we call a hand raiser post. And the hand raiser post for me is if you're looking for ... raise your hand, say yes, comment this, just like I just did right now. That's really a hand raiser. If you want what I have to offer, put spreadsheet, and then that's a hand raiser because someone's going to say, I want that. And so those kind of posts we place into this spreadsheet, and then we monitor them to see what kind of response we get. How many new clients came as a result of that particular hand raiser post? Because the hand raiser post is designed to invite people into your world. So for me, often it's like, let's jump on a call. I want you to come to my next roundtable so we can have a conversation, do our sales assessment. So it's something that's inviting someone to my world. And as a result of their sales assessment, if they now become a new client, that hand raiser post is a winner. Right. But if I'm not paying attention to that, I can just say, well, they found me on social, but now I can't repeat it again because I don't know what really worked. So the spreadsheet that we use is designed just to monitor how many eyes saw it, how many people clicked on it, how many people responded, and then what happened as a result of it. It's a great way to be able to just monitor the success of your social.
Definitely, because I feel like sometimes with social media, it does get a little convoluted. You're like, oh, is a view really a view? Is an impression? What does this all really mean? But if you're able to even just ask in those calls, like, hey, how did you hear about us?
Yes.
Or if you're able to see through your CRM system that they downloaded your thing, so they got tagged with downloaded this thing, and then you're able to see, the return on your investment with that as well.
Right. And I mean, I love that. Of course, I love when my clients are like, we got new sales, but I also want them to know, did this new sale actually create profit? Right? Or is it's just revenue because you actually paid a lot more in order to get that particular client? So again, if you want that spreadsheet, let me know and I'll be happy to get it to you. And then when you're thinking about your traditional sales, these are some of the KPIs that my clients, I say requiring them, we're very heavily recommending that they track these things. And some clients track all of these things. Some track some of them depending on the type of business that they have. So number of leads. And as I said, every person you interact with is not a lead, but a lead is not someone, you can't call them qualified yet, but they're a lead that's come in with the intention of, they've downloaded something on your website. They've said yes to something that you've offered. Maybe they were a referral to you. That's someone I would consider more of a lead.
They're on the burner, but the pan's not hot.
There you go, right? Still cold, but you're trying to warm them up a little bit. Number of discovery calls. So how many of those leads actually lead to a discovery call? Or one of our interviewees earlier said they call it a clarity call, or some people call it a get acquainted call, coffee chat, whatever you call it. That initial conversation that leads you to know that you can actually help them and they're a potential new client for you. That's what we're looking for. So how many number of discovery calls? What's the number of discovery calls? And then how many actual sales calls? Now, the discovery call and the sales call could be one and the same depending on how your business is set up. Sometimes, again, people sometimes say, you know what? I know I want to work with you. I don't need anything else. That's it. And that's great when that happens. But more than likely, you're going to have that discovery call, and there might be a few more steps in between that lead to that sales call where you're ready to present the offer. So now you want to track how many actual sales calls am I having, right? I want to be tracking, once I've gotten those new clients, what is my monthly recurring revenue? What is my profit margin? Because remember, every sale is not profit.
Yep.
It could actually be the opposite depending on how much you've paid to actually claim or get that new client. I want to be tracking for my clients, what is your conversion rate? How many people do you need to talk to get one sale, right? And we're going to be tracking that because our goal is to always have that conversion rate getting smaller and smaller to where, bigger and bigger, where I have like a 70% closure rate, opposed to when I first started, it was probably more like 15 and 30. But we track that. So at the end of the year, we can say, do you see, you were at 30%. Now you're at 80. That's great, right? We want to look at, the social media management engagement, as I said. Email open rate, which is not necessarily a sales metric so much, but it at least lets me know if what I'm putting out is actually creating buzz, if people are actually responding to it. If not, then we might want to do something else.
And the click-through rate within that too. So open and click. Okay, sure, they opened it, but then did they go delete or did they take action?
And even those people that are clicking, that are opening it multiple times, because that tells me that they're thinking about it.
Right.
They keep going back to it. Now, this is something that almost nobody tells you to track, but I'm going to tell you to track. How much time are you spending on your business development? How many hours per week are you spending on your business development? Because if I look at all these other numbers and they're piddly, I can look at this number and go, that's why. You're not spending enough time having conversations. You're not spending enough time drawing in new leads or doing enough activity that's creating new leads for you. And so I want to know how much time, and what's funny is because my last name is Times, every time I write time, it has an S on it by accident. So it says times spent on business development, but really it's time. Because that's going to inform how much success you're having in these other areas. My recommendation is 90 minutes a day. And people always go, that's a lot. Well, start off with 30. And then before you know it, you're gonna need at least 60.
Yeah.
Right? 90 minutes a day is not all phone calls, though it could be. Right? It's not all hard prospecting, but it could be. It's really a mixture of all of these things. It's all of the profit producing activities that you could possibly do in order to gain a new client. That might mean I am sending out my newsletter or my email. That might mean that I'm on LinkedIn having those interactions and communicating with people, really trying to develop some new relationships. That might mean follow-up from an event that I just attended. Or it might mean preparation for a workshop that I'm about to host that's a conversion event. So there's a multitude of different things that you could be doing, but you want to be tracking what is really working so that you can actually see your new clients acquired number going up over and over again and your profit margin going up over and over again. So anything that you think we didn't talk about that people need to be really paying attention to from your perspective, Taylor?
Well, one thing I just want to say too is it might feel a little overwhelming to pay attention to all those numbers, and that's where you want to just find trusted people to just help you decipher what it all really means.
Yeah.
I know we've, within last year, started working with Amy Fuller. I know she's had an interview, a podcast. Take a look at that podcast. She's really helped us look at those numbers and make sense of it and be able to say, okay, if you kept doing this, this is where we would be. Or if we make these adjustments, maybe if you did spend a little more here, what could that look like? And so if you have an issue with even predicting or deciphering that kind of data, it's just about who, not how.
It is, for sure. That's a good book, by the way. Definitely a good book. And then I also would recommend that you have a really good CRM that helps you to be able to pay attention to those numbers, because, and some of you all are spreadsheet ninjas and you can do it, no problem. I'm not. I need a tool that's going to kind of create some of that back end magic for me. So all I have to do is input what I'm doing, and then it can give me those projections or those percentages for me. So having something where you can start your morning looking at your dashboard, seeing where you are, seeing where you need to be, and then it really motivates and fuels the energy to get those things done. So that's all I want to talk about today. Not only, get out there and network as it pertains to starting the sales process, get great follow-up, but then you have to pay attention to the data. Don't get disappointed when things aren't working. Get data. Go in and look at, okay, well, how many people have I actually talked to? When you're saying haven't met my sales goal, but I've talked to 10 people this month, that's where the problem is. It's not that you're inefficient or, not able to close sales. It's that you're not having enough conversations, more than likely. So make more, have more conversations, have really good relationship-based types of interactions, and then monitor your metrics, because metrics is where you're going to find out what's working and what's not working. I can't wait to see you back here next week for the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I really appreciate you rocking with us consistently. I love meeting you and you telling me that you've been binging on this on the podcast. So I appreciate you. I'll see you back here next week. Thanks. Thanks for listening to the Sold Out Sales Podcast. I would be so appreciative if you would show me and my amazing guests some love by leaving a review on your favorite podcasting platform. Also, go over to tishtimes.com/resource page and make sure you pick up your sales and networking handbook, especially for introverts. Also, I would love to continue this conversation, so make sure you connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I'll see you back here next week.